To the January 8th, 2025 school committee meeting. Item 1.1, executive session to hear a Barnstable Teachers Association grievance. Move to go into executive session to reconvene in open session to hear a Barnstable Teachers Association grievance.
I'll second that motion.
This requires a roll call vote. Jen?
Yes.
Andre?
Yes.
Peter?
Yes.
And I vote yes. We are now in executive session.
Saturday to play some basketball.
All right.
That's gonna suck.
Thank you for waiting. Open session is, I am now reopening the regular school committee meeting. Item 2.1, the district vision and core values. District vision. The Barnstable Public Schools educates the whole child by creating a student-centered school culture that addresses students' physical, social, emotional, and academic needs by creating a safe and healthy learning environment in which students are challenged, supported, and engaged. Core values. In Barnstable Public Schools, we value commitment, collaboration, and community. Commitment. We are dedicated to the continuous learning and growth for all. Collaboration. We work together while keeping student needs at the center of all decision-making. Community. We build strong, respectful partnerships that support student success. Item 2.2, statement by the chair, video or audio recording of meeting. This school committee meeting is being recorded and broadcast on the Town of Barnstable's Government Access Channel. In accordance with Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 30A, Section 20, the chair must inquire whether anyone else is recording the meeting, and if so, to please make their presence known. Okay. Item 2.3, Pledge of Allegiance. We are fortunate to have our West Villages Elementary School students, Dominic Picella, Reef Medeiros, and Gabriel Rios.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And now our school representatives will give us some information about what they've been doing this year.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Reef Medeiros, a third grader at West Villages. We do a lot of cool things at West Villages. In kindergarten, students get to learn about the police. It's called the Police Academy. In first grade, students learn about the firemen in the fire department from COM. They even bring fire trucks and shoot water out of the hose. First graders get to go to the Heritage Museum and Gardens. In second grade, you get to visit the Museum of Natural History in the Buttonwood Zoo. In third grade, you get to do a beach day at the end of the year. Third graders get to go to visit the Cape Cod Canal. It's going to be so fun. We have a lot of fun in physical education. We have a big rock wall in the gym where we learn to climb across the gym walls by grabbing onto pretend rocks and placing our feet on the rocks too. My favorite thing about West Villages is gym class. We get to sit on scooters too. West Villages is so fun. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hi, I am Dominic Picella. This year, our entire school is focusing on creating a sense of belonging, so our staff and students feel safe, welcome, and included. Each month, we learn about a new character trait and are challenged to put it into action to win the Lucky Duck of the month and earn a dance party. In October, we focused on being respectful, responsible, and safe. In November, we showed acts of gratitude and kicked off our monthly attendance challenge, where students are recognized for coming to school each day to help make West Villages a great place to learn. In December, we worked on showing generosity with our words and actions. In my third grade class, we read the book The Mitten Tree. Then we pinned gloves and mittens to trees near the recess door for anyone to take if they need a pair to keep warm during recess time. We are also having fun growing our social-emotional skills to help us make smart choices on what to say and do in any zone. We help learn strategies each week, like how to keep our bodies and brains in the group or how to judge the size of the problem. And when we use our social filter to stop and think before we say or do, and especially how to use our rubber band thinking to be in the we plan instead of the me plan. This is all helping us to be our best selves, get along with others, and be ready to learn each day. January kicks off Growth Mindset Month. One thing I like is all of the teachers. If you are having a hard time, they can help you. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Gabrielle Reyes. In the new third grade Reading Amplify CKLA program, we studied the human body. CKLA is a good learning book. You can learn stuff about animals, human bodies, and more. We learned that the body has different parts, including the skeletal system, the muscular system, and the nervous system. The skeletal system includes our bones and joints. The muscular system is made of muscles. The nervous system controls voluntary and involuntary movements, and the spinal cord and brain are very important. We learned how these parts work together, especially when we see and hear. We also learned about the difficulties some people have with their vision or hearing, and how they handle these challenges. The next topic we will be learning about is the ancient Rome civilization. Thank you for having us here to represent West Villages.
Can you tell us what grade you're in?
Third grade.
All of you?
Yeah.
You did a wonderful job. School committee comments, we'll start with Jen Cullum.
Excellent to see you guys. Thank you for coming and letting us know what's happening in your school. You guys should be really proud of yourselves. Really well written, well spoken, excellent job.
Andre?
Great job. I'm interested that you guys are working to earn some goals. You have some incentives that you're trying to build up. A school dance, did I hear about a school dance over there? I think I might have to stop by as I referee over near you. I'm hearing good things about the school dances. My question is, how are we feeling after the 2-week layoff? Are we getting back in the swing of things? A little bit of an adjustment for all of us. Nice job.
Peter?
Yeah, I just want to say terrific job. You guys are great speakers, nice and loud. You guys were terrific. Thank you.
And are those all the ducks that you've each earned, or are they just samples of the types of ducks you earn when you do a good job?
They're samples.
Okay, there are all kinds of different ones there.
Not all of them.
Okay, well, thank you so much for coming out and sharing with us this evening. Item 3.1, highlights in education. We have the Barnstable Intermediate School Student Showcase.
Brianna, since much of this content has been taken from you after the marketing slide, you can just kind of run it as a slideshow. I want to share some content with you.
Thank you.
So to the agenda creator, thanks for making it nearly impossible to follow that act. But I'm excited to be here, and one thing I want to take that I think it was Dominic from West Villages just highlighted is the kind of what aligns in the district. What I'm seeing, the more I learn about each school is aligned with the vision of the graduate. He used the words that I've been using endlessly this year, which is sense of belonging. And spoke in front of all you earlier in the year, and that was the pitch, sense of belonging, and had an opportunity to put together our first annual student showcase. And what you're going to see from this presentation is more just the experience of what happened that particular day through pictures and imagery that Brianna took. Travis was there to document it from a video perspective. But Brianna, we can go to the next slide. So stock came to me of, wanting to kind of build a greater community within the school. And just came up with the idea in collaboration with the administrative team, talking with teachers of how do we change the image of BIS? How do we attract more people to it? So we came up with the idea of a student showcase, not only to highlight student work, but to really show all the community, all the good things that are happening in the building. So to highlight the goals, again, it's, and I truly believe this. Am I biased? Yes. Am I the principal? Yes. But we had the showcase to show why we're the best middle school in Cape Cod. And I can even extend that further, why I believe we're going to be the best middle school in the state of Massachusetts. So let's showcase it. Another goal of this was to highlight staff, student achievement, academic experiences, intimate learning environments, our course offerings, our clubs, our athletics. There's a lot of good things going on in the school, and I don't think a lot of people know about it. They seek other secondary opportunities for this, for that. We have it all at BIS. So this was an opportunity to put that on display, invite the community in. Also wanted to ease the transition from grades 5 to 6, and this was the risk that I took. And I had many conversations with it, still receiving feedback on it, but I was the principal who, on 12/17, thought it would be a good idea to put on a big showcase 3 days before Christmas break. So that was the risk that I took, but it was a strategic risk in the fact that my intent behind that time frame was December is the time that our competitors start to recruit. January is the time that our competition has other showcases, has other admissions, has that application process. So if I can get people in our building a little bit sooner, see what's going on, if I can change one family's thought about transferring elsewhere or school choicing elsewhere, it's a win. So that was the risk that I took with it, and fortunately we had over 300 plus visitors come to us on a Tuesday night on December 17th. So that's the ultimate goal, is to reduce the student transfers at the secondary level, because there's a lot of good things. There's a lot of pathways in this district that we're creating. Jason laid the foundation that I can carry on, but we collaborate with BIS to the high school. The relationship that I have with Mike, Val, and Justin at BUE is growing, and we're seeing a nice smooth transition between one school to the next. So I think each and every one of you at the table probably at some point received some type of email or some type of spam from me. It took a lot of marketing to plan this event. Very fortunate to have the support of the Cobb Foundation that assisted with signage. The Barnstable Police Department assisted with, on 28th, they put out that electronic sign that we had for a week. Just all the different PR and marketing that we could put towards this. Collaboration, again, with BUE. They allowed me to connect with their community. I wrote personalized letters to those families, inviting them to the school and letting them know that this event, yeah, we are highlighting BIS work and students, but it's an opportunity for you to come in from a fourth grade perspective, meet a sixth grade teacher, meet a seventh grade teacher, put a face to the name. Every single teacher in the building created a Canva profile, which we circulated on TVs throughout the building. Again, this is your math department. This could be your teacher. So an opportunity for a fourth grader to meet a future teacher and feel kind of more comfortable coming in to ease with that transition. So did a lot of work. A shout out to the community liaisons in the school, the BIS liaisons, to translate everything to make this, equitable experience for all. So I passed along some materials that you can take a look at. The experience for families as they walked in the building, we gave them a passport. And our school was divided that night into different departmental lands. And this was the challenge, and I'd like to say they embraced it with open arms, that I put on the staff was, one, thinking about your department or your club or your athletic, your sports team, is I want you to think about an activity that can engage ages or grades 4 through 7. So we had teachers planning and designing, learning experience from a fourth grader to a seventh grader. So as they walked into a different department land, math land, ELA land, they were doing a hands-on activity, a lesson, an engaging experience to get these students, these fourth graders, these fifth graders, these sixth graders, these seventh graders excited about BIS. So we had opportunities like bridge building. This was a very popular one. I think, Kristen, when you came, you highlighted this one where students You can ask them any question they want about the school, about their content, and open and honest, you got that answer. So the teachers had the autonomy to design, to speak about their departments, to really put the school in the best light and show off the work they're doing. They also recruited students for each department, for each athletic team, for each club, to come and speak to the students as well. So it was really a great experience, and some of the feedback that I've been looking at from our staff is, it was titled the Student Showcase, and they said, I think we should call it the Community Showcase with what really happened. When you entered the lobby, we had our community partners there. We had Cordial Eye, Belonging Books, Max Courage. We had a great support from the high school, again, with the Hawk's Nest and the Theater and Arts Department, giving us things to raffle off. Every 15 minutes, we were able to get some BIS swag and Barnstable Public swag, Red Hawk swag, whatever we had, out to the community. The Barnstable Police Department and the police union, they gave us 2 bikes where we got to raffle off 2 bicycles for incoming students. So it was a major success, a risk worth taking. We had our faculty meeting yesterday, and again, a part of that is soliciting more feedback on improvement. It's something that we do want to exist, to feature all the great things that's happening at BIS. And again, going back to the vision of a graduate, and the consistent message I'm hearing is sense of belonging. And that's the message we're going to carry through all year. I can't thank people more than enough that supported this. It really took the whole community to make this come together, and seeing 300 plus people come through our doors on a Tuesday night was a success. So happy to answer any questions related to this, but again, I'm very, very pleased with how our first one went.
Thank you. Jen?
Well, I will say that I love the marketing aspect. I think it's kind of long overdue. There's always been so many great things happening in Barnstable, but only the bad stuff seems to get out. So, I mean, I recognize that it's a Herculean effort to get everybody on the same page, and having been an event planner in my past for various things, I know that that's a lot of work. So, good for you. And thanks for the pride that you have, and I think you're settling in great to the job, and, I look forward to great things to come. I think we've got a good team between BIS and BHS now. Thank you.
Andre?
Yeah, great job. First question, as I'm moving around the community, it was nice to see a sign right out in front of BUES, also West Villages. What did you see in terms of the people that came out, specifically from Barnstable Intermediate School, and then also, hopefully, some parents from the United School interested, those fifth graders moving up? Did you see, because I was glad to see the sign
Yeah.
out in front of the United School,
Yeah.
but were you seeing some parents, because I know that's a transition, we talk about the different steps that our families are taking.
Yeah, I think that was actually our biggest win. Like, when I think about little pockets of that night that were successful for me, the raffle was a lot of fun. And handing away some of that Red Hawk swag, one of them being a bicycle, that went to a 4th grade student. And this student and family didn't have any stake in the school. They were there to see. So we saw a lot from grades 4, from grade 5, in the building. As I circulated around as much as I could that evening, you could see the student-to-student engagement, especially in the cafeteria. That's where we had all our clubs and we had all our sports set up. So you could kind of see that conversation about sport, that conversation about clubs, because I think that is, as you make that change from grade 5 to grade 6, the offerings do kind of to grow a little bit. So I could see those conversations, and yeah, definitely saw the presence from BUE and externally.
Peter?
It's good. I was also glad to see, as was noted, Belonging Books. So we're getting a selection in terms of the curricula that our students have access to. It's very good. Cordial Eye, outstanding artwork, a lot of Barnstable alumni, from those community partners, just wonderful. Last year, I was at the Barnstable High School Showcase, which is a newer thing. That's one of the things I just wanted to kind of highlight. that putting out there what we're doing, getting the community involved, whether you do it in December, whether you do it in November, whether you do it in January. I'm looking forward to this being a consistent, something that we're investing in and doing more and more going forward. So tremendous job, and keep it up.
Yeah, I think with that, BHS, Jason, January 16th, 5:30 to 7 here. We're doing the PR in our building. Sorry, ladies, if I'm taking some steam from you, but yeah, we should all attend that. It's important. Again, we're trying to build that community, get that message out, and a shout out to, the PTO who brought Belonging Books in, and the connection internal is cordial eye, but also the curriculum coordinators who work at BHS and BIS to bring these events together.
Yeah, and it's good to be the promoter. It's always good, and I really appreciate.
When it works.
Yeah. I really appreciate your effort and your staff's effort for going ahead and doing this. Especially with the desire to show what we do well, which will then in turn hopefully keep our kids in Barnstable. It's very important to me, that's for sure. And so I really appreciate all your efforts. I was one of those people who couldn't make it on December 17th. I understand your logic, and it was gutsy. Maybe first week of December, maybe,
Yeah.
But,
I think it's something to revisit based on the feedback
Okay.
I'm getting.
But you had 300
yeah,
people, so,
yeah.
that was terrific.
Yeah.
Great job, Tyler.
Thanks.
And I don't have much to add to my colleagues' comments, but I do want to thank everybody, especially the staff. I know how much work it takes to put this on, and I too had a conflict and couldn't be there, so I look forward to next year,
Great, excellent.
hopefully. Yeah, thank you so much.
All right, thanks for having me.
Have a good night. Routine business, item 4.1, student envoy reports for Barnstable High School.
Okay, hi. I hope you guys all had a nice break. This is obviously the first week back, so we're all getting back into the swing of things. The transition's been well, just like getting more used to it.
All right. Our CNA students started their clinicals today, so they went over to Pavilion Nursing Home, and they observed and took care of some patients. One of my friends personally went. She was telling me about it a few hours ago, and she said that she learned a lot from the experience.
Today, students had to all change their passwords for both Google and Aspen. This is to improve privacy and just is a good step towards like security.
As for winter sports, they're all going very well. I'm more tuned into girls basketball right now, and they're doing great.
As was stated, the showcase is the 16th from 5:30 to 7:30. I volunteered the last 2 times, and it's always been a success. So I'm really excited for this coming one. We always have a good show out, and it's exciting to show people like what we do within the school, what everyone does.
And finally, Student Ambassadors is going over to the middle school in early February to help 7th graders choose their schedule. This is my 4th year going, and I'm really excited. Last time, best time, and it's going to be great.
Terrific.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. School committee.
Some questions.
Andre, hold on for a second. Jen, do you want to start?
No, I'm fine, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for
Andre?
coming.
Thanks, Kathy. So it's good to be back after the layoff. One question that I wanted to ask, because I see you here, is you took a trip to the community college for the Pathways trip and met the college president. I see some of our student envoys there, and really good that you took that. Almost 100 students went out to the community. So I just wanted to, how did that trip go? Here in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, community college is now free for our aspiring students, and enrollment has jumped tremendously. What was your experience at Cape Cod Community College, which is a very highly rated junior college, and are you feeling students, are acclimated, and that's one of, the options that our students will have, upon graduation. How'd that go?
Yeah, so it went really great. We didn't have any problems when we went. Everyone was super great. Obviously, we're seniors, so you kind of expect that. But I didn't know a lot about the community college when I went. I was mostly there to help with Spanish-speaking students. And I honestly didn't know it was as big as it was. And the buildings were just so nice. And everyone I talked to, like all the students I talked to, were super interested in it. I mean, when you have the aspect of like community college now being free, obviously a lot of people are going to be interested. But it was that initial interest of like, oh, it's free. And then as the tour continued on and we learned more about the community college, it was then a shift in interest to, oh, this place is great. Because the buildings are very updated and everyone that we met and talked to had a clear passion for what they were doing and what they were offering the students. So overall, I had a great experience. The president of the community college is a lovely, lovely man. And yeah, it was a great time.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Peter?
All set, thanks.
And
Terrific.
I have nothing to follow up, but thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Item 4.2, public comment. Public comment will be limited to 3 minutes per individual and 30 minutes total. There will be no debate or action taken on public comment items. The committee will take items under advisement, or the individual will request an item to be placed on a future agenda. The chair will also allow public comment at her discretion during the meeting. Is anyone here for public comment? Okay. When you come up, could you please make sure that you state your name and village? Thanks.
Hi, everyone. My name's Erin Farrow from Osterville. Some of you probably remember me speaking back in August regarding the mold situation at BUES and may not be too happy to see me back, as I understand bringing attention to this matter may have caused a great deal of stress, frustration, and even annoyance for all of you. However, your attention to this problem by listening to teachers, parents, and community members' experiences and concerns has resulted in the start of positive change. I know that these last 5 months haven't always been smooth, but effective change rarely is. I am here to encourage you as school committee members and school leaders to continue to listen to your employees, to the parents of students you serve, and to the students themselves. The testing completed, remediation carried out, and now the hiring of a mold prevention and on-call environmental health specialist are all wonderful steps in addressing the mold situation in Barnstable Public Schools. While there is still more work to be done, I can see the beginnings of putting the right people first, educators and students who are housed in the building each and every day. As I stated previously, it is the responsibility of the entire town to do better for the next generation so that our community can be strengthened. That begins with ensuring teachers have the proper support to educate the next generation. In a time when being in the education field is a constant battle of defending oneself, I ask that you continue to explore a different narrative, one that listens to and encourages educators to speak up about what is needed to not only educate the future generation, but also to ensure fair and ethical treatment, providing basic rights such as a safe place to work. I am here to continue to encourage you to keep this work active, to continue to explore ways to make sure problems are addressed before they arise, to strive to keep the goal of a healthy school environment at the forefront. This includes addressing the HVAC system at BUES, the state of the outside of the building at BUES, and working with any students and families who are exhibiting symptoms from mold. Unfortunately, BUES is not the only school in the district affected by mold. I encourage you as a school committee to continue to look into bigger and brighter initiatives through the creation of new school buildings that are not only constructed to proper standards, but are also able to sustain a long life to educate our students. I am impressed by the work you have done. I thank you for your commitment to addressing this issue, something that I was not privy to from the last administration. And I encourage you to continue this work so that we as a community can not only offer students what they need, but be a model for other schools and districts to replicate. I look forward to seeing what comes about in the coming months. Thank you.
Thank you. Is anyone else here for public comment?
Evening. My name's Courtney DeLamba. I'm from Hyannis. I can honestly say yes, I am impressed with the steps you have taken so far, but I can honestly say, unfortunately, it's still not enough. Our kids are still really sick, my son included. There was a day where within the first 2 hours of him being at school, we had 5 seizures in his classroom, which then resulted, obviously, in me having to take him home. He has maxed out on all of his seizure medications and everything else, so I encourage you to do everything in your best ability to try to make this fix sooner rather than later for the health and well-being of these kids. My godson is now experiencing symptoms in the school, and it's just, it's devastating to see these kids come home and say, this is what happened at school today, and where my son can't tell me what happened at school today. I do get his home log every day. That tells me how his day was, and the fatigue has taken over him. There are some days he's asleep more than he is awake, which, what is he really learning in that type of environment? So I ask you, please, please, do whatever it takes to help these kids get better, and the staff. And I also wanted to know, when you created this panel for picking this person to be the remediator, and there were parents chosen, why was this not addressed to all of the parents in the district? Because I know myself and other parents would have loved to have the opportunity to possibly sit on this panel. I would like to know how they were picked and kind of go from there. Thank you.
Thank you. Is anyone else here for public comment? All right, seeing no one, public comment is now closed. Item 4.3, School Committee Subcommittee and Liaison Reports. Jen, do you want to start with the?
Well, I'm probably going to hold for the update on the facilities subcommittee.
Okay, all right. And Andre, you're on facilities and collaborative. Do you have any reports?
Kathy, I will hold for the facilities in both the goals segments.
All right.
And I'll certainly let you take over on the policy. Go ahead.
Subcommittee for Policy Revision met yesterday, and we have a revision to the graduation requirements policy that's on our agenda later this evening. The committee to review the mold prevention and on-call environmental services. First, there's an agenda item that's related to this, but at this time, I would like to thank the members of the committee, and they put in a lot of work. It was a difficult decision, and they did a fabulous job. So that would be Brooke Steich, our BTA president, representing the Barnstable Public Schools staff, Amanda McGurgle, Alden, a BUES parent, Cooper Amster, BUES school parent, Doug Bullinger, our facilities director, Tammy Cunningham from Human Resources, Amber Patterson, the chief procurement officer, and Danielle Lemonin, who's a purchasing agent. And we'll have more on this later this evening. Item 4.4 is school committee comments. Jen, do you have any other comments?
I do have actually one question about what you just said. When you guys have the panel meetings, is there a public comment session where the last speaker could speak?
The panel, you mean
Yeah, for BUS and the
the
mold remediation.
RFP?
Yeah,
So the RFP process is confidential per Mass General Law, and those meetings were not open, and we were not able to discuss even amongst ourselves outside of those meetings. But since then, now that the process is completed, it's on tonight's agenda for a recommendation to the school committee to award the RFP, and the documents are now public record. But, so to answer your direct question, only the people that were appointed to the committee could participate.
and how were they appointed and chosen?
So Kathy volunteered as the chairperson of the school committee. We felt that the director of facilities really needed to be on based on his expertise, as well as deputy director for human resources, Tammy Cunningham, given her role in the mold remediation and prevention from a personnel standpoint. We had Brooke Steich volunteer on behalf of the teachers, and we did look for additional teacher representatives, but no one wanted to step forward. And then the two parents who served on the panel volunteered to me very early on, not necessarily for this panel, but to help in regard to our efforts related to the remediation. And I did not know them ahead of time. These are two parents that reached out. They both spoke at public comment at one or more points during the summer. There had been some ongoing exchange in emails with questions to kind of further delve in and dive in and understand the situation. One had a construction background, and so I reached out to them, given that they had volunteered early on, to see if they would be willing to serve.
Thank you.
Andre?
Yes, thank you, Kathy. First, I wanted to inform the community that at the state level, Governor Healy has noted the emphasis on early college and career for our graduating seniors. With that in mind, $8 million in grants have been awarded by Governor Healy with an emphasis on keeping Massachusetts #1 in the rankings nationally in public education. And I bring this up because Governor Healy has specified gateway cities and rural communities. So I was encouraged to see this. Governor Healy visited the Cape last year, looking at the early childhood program at the YMCA here in Barnstable. I'm going to be looking going forward how Barnstable is looking to get some of that $8 million in funding to help our students with early college, which we just noted is free, or beginning going forward with their careers. I thought that was very encouraging. In terms of the Cape Cod Collaborative, I could not attend this month's meeting as it falls at the same time as this meeting. But I want to recognize Paul Hilton, who has officially retired. There will be a gathering next week here in Barnstable for Paul, who has served for 15 years and done great work for students in Barnstable and students across the Cape. And now also including Plymouth, who joined the collaborative just recently. Thank you.
Okay. Peter?
Yeah, I was just happening to go through some old notes before this meeting, and I also noted Jason was going to speak about his program of studies, and so it just reminded me of the cell phone issue that we talked about in the past, and I just don't want it to disappear from our many to-do lists. And kind of just to recap where we were, the teachers had requested our help, the school committee's help, in regards to limiting cell phones when they were surveyed last year. And that group was formed, I was part of it, Jason as well, to tour schools that had policies dealing with cell phones. Now, I believe, at least what I'm hearing, things have kind of cooled off on this topic. I think there's been a change at Barnstable High School. And maybe under our new principal, Jason Canet, BHS has got a handle on cell phones, and it's just not that much of an issue anymore. I don't really know. I don't want to drop this issue if the faculty still needs us to step in and help. I do believe we need to certainly write up a policy to state the limits on cell phone usage in schools. Maybe that could be put on the policy committee agenda upcoming. And we do have Jason here tonight, so if he could speak briefly, very briefly on this. I just don't want to lose any momentum from early in the school year, but maybe the problem is taking care of itself. Sometimes things just fix themselves, so that would be wonderful if that happened, so.
Sure, I think the first thing is addressing the problem.
Yeah, so you'll have to come up so that it's for the, we can hear you, but the public can't.
It's on?
So thank you. I believe the first step was taken in identifying what the problem really was. Talking with students, talking with staff, I think we are headed in the right direction. This isn't a topic that is just going to go away. This is going to be around forever.
Okay.
I think this is something that we have to continuously remind our students. One of the things that I said in my morning announcements on the Monday when returning from 2 weeks, just a 2-week stint away from school, students may revert back to old habits of scrolling on their phones. And for some, this may be very difficult. Just, in 4 months of listening to rules and policies of putting the phone away and just being on your phone for 2 weeks may be a difficult transition to come back. And we did see this as well. I know some staff had to remind students, but this is something that I think we need to address on a monthly basis. And we just need to stay focused on the course at hand, which is we do not want disruptions to the educational process. And I don't think this is something that we can just put the flag down and say that we've conquered, but I think we've set the tone with the students and the staff that they are the ones that can maximize their education for all 60 minutes. They are the ones that have full control over that cell phone. So I think if we just constantly are reminding them, we are heading to the right direction. I don't think it's a place that we can just claim success and the cell phones go away, but I think the staff, the students, I think everyone's staying vigilant with this. They're staying up with what needs to happen. And I just want to commend all the staff and the students for that matter. The success that maybe you're hearing or that you're seeing, this is 100% with the staff and students. So the kudos go to everyone that has bought into this. But I can tell you right now, 1 week of letting off the gas is probably a month of fixing that we have to do. So we just have to stay with this.
Well, good. Thank you. My term ends in November, and I'm fully supportive of doing something with the cell phone. So got to strike while the iron's hot, kind of.
Of course.
Anything we can do to help, just let us know.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
And I have nothing further. So we'll move on to,
Yes, Kathy. I do have a few slides for the community. As I say, Barnstable, it's a large, we are diverse, we are a dynamic school district, and so we had a layoff, but coming out of December and early in January, there's much to report to the community about the positive things that are going on in relation to our schools. I will say you are going to be hearing the word next quite a bit in this presentation because I don't have the clicker, but we're going to do a good job of coordinating this. So to begin, at Barnstable Community Innovation School, third graders brought holiday cheer, next, singing a number of songs for the community. This included Little Light of Mine, next, Feliz Navidad, next, and I Want a Hippopotamus for Christmas, next. They raised their bells to be heard, singing Jingle Bell Rock, and had a good all-around time. Next. Third grade classes, our hardworking fifth graders put their work on display. Next. Accomplishing CKLA, Inca, and Aztec Codex projects. Next. They're also diving into their ecosystem unit projects. Next. And enjoying every minute of it. Next. And next again. Okay, we just saw a great presentation from Tyler Arlington. Next. about the BIS Showcase event. Great participation and turnout from the community. Next. And students across their enrichments. Next. Their core classes. Next. Their athletics. Displayed all of the wonderful things, the positive things, the hard work that's going on at Barnstable Innovation School. Next, staying at BIS, the winter concert took place last month. Next, students from various instruments. Next, put on a great performance, enthusiasm, encouragement. Next, our strings. It was a positive affair. Next. And next. Staying on this theme, Barnstable High School's concert took place in December. Next. Again, our chorus, our saxophone players. Next. Our singers. Next. And it was a great overall experience. Next. The Barnstable High School Band was invited to perform at the Steamship Authority, next, that commissioned their new freight, next, the MV Barnstable. It seemed to be a blustery day, but our band brought some cheer and some excitement over to the Steamship Authority, which again commissioned their new ship, the MV Barnstable. Next. Moving over to Barnstable High School, we were honored to have the opportunity to hear from Dr. Fernandez and Dr. Rodriguez during the Spanish for Heritage Speakers class, a new course at Barnstable High School. The doctors shared their experience of being English language learners and the importance of a growth mindset, along with persevering through life's challenges. Thank you to Dr. Fernandez and Dr. Rodriguez. Next. This is coming up, the Seal of Literacy 24-25, where our students will have access to college courses and universities with tangible global benefits. This is an upcoming event, as we can see, March 17th through 21st at Barnstable High School. And I wanted to inform the community, and I certainly plan on attending and being aware. Next. So right here in the library, our DECA program, along with sponsors, next, parents and mentors, had their preparation for districts. Next. District competition is coming up this week, the first week back after vacation. Next. And we're looking forward to our students putting their best foot forward, dressing professionally. Next. And doing their best to represent Barnstable and go out and be successful. Good luck to the Barnstable High School DECA program. Next. Just talked about this. The Barnstable Community College Pathway trip included close to 100 seniors. I want to thank Ms. Meager, next, Mr. Wannett, and Mr. Henberry of the Barnstable School Counseling Team for putting this together, and also President John Cox at Cape Cod Community College for hosting these students. Next. Speaking of the community college, the Waterworks Blue Economy and STEM Career Exploration Day is coming up next week on January 14th. This will be a time for students to speak with employers and educators from the Blue Economy and STEM-related fields. Activities include interactive displays, one-on-one conversations, and Q&A discussions. Again, this is the Blue Economy STEM and Career Exploration Day at the Community College, which will be January 14th. Next. I was thrilled to see that Spirit Week here at Barnstable High School was festive. Vacation Wears Day, next. I don't find those sweaters to be ugly at all. But Ugly Sweater Day, next. Whiteout Day, next. Holiday Spirit, next. And Pajama Day. I know there's a little bit of pushback in terms of students showing up in their pajamas, but for one day I have no problem with it. The information that I saw from the Barnstable High School Insight was tremendous, and a shout out to Spirit Week which looked wonderful. Next. So auditions for The Little Mermaid are taking place as we speak. Students participating. I spoke about the last presentation of Mean Girls, which was out of this world and sold out. So auditions are taking place now. Please go ahead and participate. And I don't mind mentioning that Mean Girls every single night was sold out. So I just want to let the community know, get your tickets in advance for The Little Mermaid. It's going to be in the Performing Arts Center, different from the night auditorium, but still, get those tickets in advance because we're looking for another tremendous show. Next. The Lunar New Year celebrations are coming up later on this month in January on 529 Main Street in Hyannis. I bring this up because students from our Mandarin program have participated in this event. Next. And it's wonderful for the community, located right on Main Street. Our Barnstable students, not just at the high school, I would imagine across the board, are in attendance, and something to participate in. And again, our students will be continuing to do their good work. Next. Moving over to the world of athletics, Barnstable is distinctive as the lone Division I program here on the Cape and Islands, and we have a rich tradition of over a century of athletic excellence. So I wanted to note Mateus Generoso, who placed 6 out of 37 teams at the Marshfield Holiday Tournament in the 107-pound and 175 weight class. Next. Coaching staff is extremely pleased with his progress. Colin Flood also placed in 5th at this event. And we're going to stay with the wrestling program, but this was great to see. Next. These are our wrestlers at a recent event. Next. Placing in the top 5. Next. And continuing to represent Barnstable well. This was the Bob Gay tournament at Whitman-Hanson College. Marco Simonelli, Mateus Generoso, and Colin Flood all placing. Great job to our wrestlers. Next. Moving over to hockey. We're again, Barnstable High School. Rich tradition over the years. State championship in 1991. Next. This is the game against neighboring Sandwich. Barnstable with a shutout victory, 1-0. Next. Great job to our hockey team. Next. As the season goes full throttle in January, and they're out there representing us well. Next. So great job for the hockey team. Next. Over to the basketball side, our girls Red Hawks got their first win of the season. Next. Against Martha's Vineyard at home. Great atmosphere. Next. Good overall game. Next. Complete team effort. Next. And I want to recognize Miss Cox, first name, I apologize, I don't have it. Ashley Cox, got that, who was nominated by the Cape Cod Times for Player of the Week. This is the week before, but great job, Ashley. Next. Over the boys' side in basketball, our boys' team got a win over Foxborough at home. Next. This was a few days after Foxborough beat them by double digits at their place. So in the rematch, Barnstable came out victorious by double digits. Next. Complete team effort led by our seniors. Next. And I want to say Barnstable got another great win last night against the Monomoy Sharks at home, and is off to a fast start, has a matchup against Cape Cod has a matchup against Cape Cod Academy this Friday, and we know that they're going to continue to work hard and be on the right track. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, we're now at item 4.5, Superintendent's Report.
Sarah.
Well, welcome back, everyone. I hope everyone had a relaxing and restful winter break. Nice to hear from the students again. It's inclement weather season, and although we may have reasons to reach out in emergency at other times of year, I thought it would be a good time to remind people to update their emergency contact information through Aspen by contacting the school offices in the event that we have a cancellation or school delay. I want people to know that I watch weather days in advance and am carefully consulting with facilities and transportation along with my superintendent colleagues here on Cape Cod. We contact DPW and, if necessary, the fire department and police departments to make sure that we're remaining apprised of conditions around town. Whenever possible, I will try to make a decision the night before, but sometimes calls cannot be responsibly made until the morning of the event. I do aim to make the decision early, between 5 and 5:30, although it does take a little bit of time sometime for word to spread through our emergency contact system, which is why I try to do it early. We do have staff traveling from far away. I also want to be really clear about the formal avenues around which we communicate. We will send text, we will send phone calls automatically, and direct emails to all of parent and staff contact. If you opt out once from a phone call or a text, that will opt you out of any further communication, so I would be careful to not opt out if you do want to get our emergency notifications, and I actually urge you to do that because it is our main way of getting information to you quickly. We post our emergency status on our website. I will note that we have a new and redesigned website, and I want to give accolades to Noreen Jones for all of the hard work that's gone on to migrate to a new platform, which should have enhanced mobile readability. We post on 2 social media channels, that's Facebook and Instagram for Barnstable Public Schools. We post on major news stations, the TV and the radio. And new this year, we will aim to use the Town of Barnstable app. We do have an opportunity to push information out through the town. I want to be clear that we do not use TikTok or Snapchat or other avenues that you may run across for formal communications. And it's important that if you see something on TikTok or Snapchat, to recognize that these are not formal methods of communication, might not be right, and to please check our formal channels. I will be communicating this out in a newsletter by the end of the week. I want to congratulate BIS on an amazing showcase. I know we've heard a lot about it tonight, but I was really, truly very impressed with what the students and staff had put together to really represent how BIS shines. And I'm looking forward to the BHS showcase January 16th here at the high school at 5:30. I want to let the committee know that I had the opportunity at the invitation of Town Manager Mark Ells to meet as part of the town department heads with the new council president Tamish and Vice President Clark yesterday. I really appreciated their listening and the opportunity I had to share the needs of the district, as well as some of the things that we're looking at coming ahead, including goal setting, our efforts at recruitment and retention, and maintaining our facilities. And again, I want to thank them for their deep listening. On Monday, Mr. Dwelly, the Deputy Director of Finance, the Director of Facilities, Doug Bowlanger, and I will be presenting to the town's Comprehensive Financial Advisory Committee at 6 p.m. via Zoom. This is the annual opportunity we have to present the capital projects being proposed for FY26. And they have been also paying attention to the school committee's discussions about facilities, and they've asked us to provide them with an update and an opportunity to learn about some of our discussions related to the statements of interest for accelerated repair and the core program. I have kind of reframed this next part of the meeting as indoor air quality updates. Because we are not only focusing on BUES, but we are also focusing across the entire district, and I think you see that with the agenda item tonight related to mold prevention specialist, but also an environmental health services group. At the United Elementary School, we have received a physical report regarding the building envelope. The facilities director is currently reviewing it and considering the information in it against the facilities conditions assessment. We anticipate that there will be overlap between those 2 reports because that conditions assessment also addressed the exterior of the building. So we can make that available at a later point in time, but we are kind of just receiving it and internally digesting it. Air Masters had previously supplied us with a deficiency report, and all of that work has been completed, which we have noted in previous updates. Recently, Air Masters performed balancing of the HVAC system in the building over break. And currently, our engineer, BLW, is working on a redesign for the future, which we would anticipate to become a future capital project and go out to bid. The gymnasium was cleaned by our maintenance and custodial staff, and I want to thank them for their work on that special project. This was done on December 26th and 27th as a result of some of our inspections lately in the building and noting a considerable amount of dust, not mold, but dust that had built up there. So that was cleaned over break. We've received indoor air quality reports for Hyannis West and Centerville from the Department of Public Health. And the Department of Public Health came out after that scheduling snafu. They came out to BWB on December 19th, and we are awaiting a report from them, and we're posting those reports on the school's websites. Air Masters is coming in to review for deficiencies based on what the DPH is identifying and helping us. We are addressing other issues that might arise as part of these inspections. For example, Hyannis West had a pest issue pointed out. It's been addressed, and I want to assure the committee and the community that we do have a pest maintenance plan to be proactive about pests as well. I do anticipate that the school committee can expect additional budgetary requests through capital and through the FY26 budget development process to support our facilities, ongoing facilities projects. And going forward, I'm looking forward to consolidating all of this under kind of one umbrella with a comprehensive mold prevention and environmental specialist consulting group that you'll hear more about tonight as the bid comes forward for your action. And that's what I have tonight. Thank you.
Questions? Jen?
No, thank you.
Andre?
No questions.
Peter?
No, I'm good, thanks.
And I'm good. Thank
Actually,
you.
can I
Go
just
ahead.
ask for the day and time of that Zoom with CFAC again?
It's Monday, the 13th at 6 p.m.
Thank you.
All right. Item 4.6, Assistant Superintendent Report. Kristen.
Thank you. So I just have a few brief comments, one of which Andre has already teed up for me. Thank you very much. The Seal of Biliteracy opportunity at the high school. So the Seal of Biliteracy is an insignia that is affixed to students' diploma and transcript and represents that a student has attained a high level of proficiency in English and at least one other language. Students are allowed to test in any language that they demonstrate fluency in, including languages that they've learned at home or in the community. This is a great way for us to honor both our multilingual learners and world language students for their linguistic abilities. As Andre pointed out, there will be a week of assessments. Students who are eligible, and again, that is by demonstrating fluency, for the Seal of Biliteracy will be taking their assessments during the week of March 17th. Just to give you a sense of the testing, so last year, 75 students were eligible to participate in the Seal of Biliteracy. Only 33 students tested, chose to follow that opportunity, and 30 students actually attained the Seal of Biliteracy. For this coming year, there are 102 students who are eligible for the Seal of Biliteracy. While the testing has not taken place yet, they're anticipating that there'll probably be around 100 students who will participate in the Seal of Biliteracy testing. And actually, currently, we already have 2 students who have attained the Seal of Biliteracy through testing that they completed last year. And that testing the languages range. I was trying to find an old email just of some samples of students that had been awarded. Couldn't find the one I was looking for, but it includes Portuguese and Spanish, French, Jamaican Creole, Bulgarian. So any language that students would have demonstrated the proficiency in or their fluency in. And while the Seal of Biliteracy is prestigious and a great way to demonstrate a student's hard work in their language learning, there are quite a few tangible benefits for students who attain the seal. And Andre had shared the flyer with that, and I did want to just point out or highlight them just a bit more because I think it is the opportunity that provides for students. There are benefits for college-bound students. They can be placed in upper-level language classes. It can meet language requirements for graduation from college. And also at certain institutions, so always check with the college and universities that you're applying for as these change, but up to 15 credits at universities, some including Bridgewater State, Cape Cod Community College, Salem State, UMass Amherst, and Worcester State University. But again, check with those universities to make sure that that is current. Benefits for the workplace, the students have the opportunity to earn a digital badge to represent your language skills, something that would be on your resume. Possibility of higher pay rates and opportunities to work and travel abroad, and a really maybe not very well known great perk, but a free voucher for an MTEL test, which is the Massachusetts Test for Educator Licensure. And then finally, for those that are looking to join the military, bilingual students joining the military tend to have increased promotion, travel, and pay opportunities. And again, confirming with the armed forces units as to what those opportunities are. So it really is an incredible opportunity for students. It is a great way to showcase and highlight their skills at multiple languages. And I would just, in terms of this item, close with it is growing. Some previous data in 2020, we had 2 students. Again, that was also COVID. 2021, we had 8 students. 2022, we had 14 students. And now we're in the 30s, and we are anticipating that number to grow. Few real quick reminders. Reminder for families that Friday, January 10th is a half day for students, as staff will be engaging in professional development after students leave for the day. And while we are moving into January, or we are in January, just a reminder from December comments that our BUES students do have their holiday or winter concerts coming up January 14th for grade 4 and January 15th for grade 5. Both are being held at the high school in the Performing Arts Center at 6 p.m. And that is all I have today.
Committee questions or comments? Jen?
No.
Andre?
No, I'm good.
Peter?
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Kristen.
Thank you.
All right, old business. Item 5.1, approve school committee goals. I'll turn that over to Jen.
Yeah, this has kind of been long on the wait list to finally make it to the agenda, so I'm really thankful it's here. This was a subcommittee that Andre and I were on, and with the help of Superintendent Ahern, we came up with ideas on what we think are strong moves to make Barnstable the best it can be. And in the end of it all, it kind of boiled down to one particular thing, which is formulating a strategic plan for goals for the school committee to then provide kind of a roadmap for the administration to move forward with programmatic and plausible goals that build a stronger culture in Barnstable. So I'm just going to read the memo so everyone at home has it. So while keeping in mind our vision and core values, the Goals Subcommittee recommends to develop a strategic plan that outlines a vision and strategy for the next 5, 10, and 15 years for Barnstable Public Schools by the end of July this year, 2025. The action items are to promote a better understanding of the town of Barnstable by incorporating updates from the town manager's office and school committee proceedings on projects that affect our families in Barnstable, to conduct public meetings on the current state of our facilities and solutions, and including the possibility of a new school, develop partnerships in the community through presentations and workshops in order to help facilitate conversations about the future of our aging facilities, and foster community partnerships that promote trust and confidence leading to effect positive cultural change in the schools. So the strategic plan then, these are items that we would like to discuss that came out of our meetings. So we would like the strategic plan to kind of address these issues. It's by no means limited to these 3 issues. We wanted the full complement of committee members to weigh in, and that's why we're recommending the strategic plan, so, thank you.
I move to approve the school committee goal to develop a strategic plan that outlines a vision and strategy for the next 5, 10, 15 years for Barnstable Public Schools by the end of July 2025.
Second?
Having a motion made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Item 5.2, Facilities Subcommittee Update. Again, Jen?
Here I am again. I'm like, all right, let's see. So, the Facilities Subcommittee has been working hard on different plans to kind of strategically think about where we are and where we are as with regard to our neighboring schools and what we can do to improve the current state of affairs in our schools. It's timely because of the mold issue that we had at BUES, obviously, but it's also, really been in the works for a long time. I think that, for me anyway, I've been thinking about this item long before I became a school committee member. So this is an addition and an informational update on what we presented at the last meeting, trying to kind of answer some of the questions that we had that school committee members brought up and other things that we kind of were just kicking around in the back of our heads. We met for the last time this past Monday, I should say, and addressed some of these things. So we have some good brains working on the math here. So if we can hit the next slide, or the slide here. So I'm going to let Sarah take this. It's kind of going to be a conversation between Sarah and Chris Dwelly and I, and Doug Boulanger is here as well to answer any questions. And obviously, we want to get as many questions as possible out. I'd also like to welcome our friends here from Collier. They're here to answer any questions on a process that might seem daunting to some or rushed to some, but they're here to answer questions on the core program and the accelerated repair program, and maybe answer any kind of concerns there might be about, numbers of students in buildings and just other questions that kind of came up. We figured we'd give you the full complement again to answer as many questions up front as we could. I'm sorry that Mike Judge isn't here to listen to some of this, but I'm sure he'll take note and watch the replay. So thank you, Sarah.
Thank you. I'll note too, for background, that Colliers is the firm who provided the consultancy on the facilities conditions and capacity assessment. And so their work here is a continuation of that as we make meaning from that report and enact some of many of the priorities and recommendations that came from there. So they're continuing to provide some consulting service within that project, which has been going on for a couple of years. This first slide, though, is a little bit out of, it's related to facilities and something that we talked about at the facility subcommittee, but does not have as much to do with Colliers, except Derek was with us as we were thinking about how we would accommodate additional space given some of the space constraints we've been facing. The portables are in at BCIS and at High West after a multi-year project to gain some additional space at those 2 schools. And last, I want to say June, the school committee authorized us to proceed in working with and talking to NOSIT about procuring some of their portables when they are done with them as part of their building project. And wanted to provide the entire committee and the community with an update tonight, although the facilities subcommittee heard this on Monday, which is really a suggestion that we move away from bringing on additional portables. So that would kind of take that off of the capital improvement list at this time. And the reasons are as follows, and we have some additional information now that we didn't have last spring. Our enrollment is down slightly in grades K and 1 across the district, which is easing a little bit of our space pressure. We do anticipate additional easing of space pressure at Centerville and BWB next year. We're looking at this as it relates to the budget development and as it relates to future enrollment, and this has to do with a smaller number of ILC classrooms that we anticipate next year and spreading them out a little bit differently than we currently do. So the additional portables, in my mind, were going to be for BWB. But if BWB stays next year in the same configuration as they are this year, they don't have the same level of pressure that they had last year. We anticipate at this point that the portables are likely to cost more than we originally anticipated. This is with Doug coming on board and having some conversations with NOSIT, pursuing it a little bit more concretely. We would be the fourth occupants, and Doug, as our facilities director, has some structural concerns relating to moving them from NOSIT down here, and just seeing what we have dealt with installing new portables here. It's not really a quick solution or a quick fix. It's an involved project with a lot of unknowns, including the timing. We're assuming that they're going to be done by the summer in NOSIT, but it could be later than that. And our staff here in the district, myself, Doug, Chris, the facilities department in general, infrastructure technology, are attending to a multitude of high priorities across the district that we feel this presents kind of an added challenge that does not bring the same kind of return on investment, so to speak. So my suggestion, I appreciate the authority that the school committee, bestowed upon us back in June, but it is something that we'd like to move away from and put our efforts into different projects and different priorities at this time. I can pause there if now's a good time for any questions.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised that it doesn't upset me or it doesn't bother me or anything. I'm kind of surprised that we're not going ahead with the portables at NOSIT. How many portables were we getting?
So you had authorized up to 10. There was a cluster of 6 that they had there. That was kind of ideal, and then 4 was something that we were potentially hoping for. Looking at some of the sites, BWB probably has a pretty good, pad to put it down. Some of the other sites, like the Early Learning Center, really doesn't have space there for it. The 6 would be sort of the most feasible. I think some concerns were raised when we thought about, they have 37 or something like that there, and breaking them up into smaller components created some structural questions and concerns on Doug's part.
It's, like that cluster of 6, I mean, they were, I guess in my head, I'm just thinking that could house a lot of students. And so I thought I heard at our last meeting, we were down slightly in grades.
We are down slightly in grades K and 1. I think the big release valve that's creating a little bit of easing of the pressure is anticipating fewer ILC classrooms next year for 25-26. And we anticipate putting one at the Community Innovation School.
Okay.
In addition, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that the unknowns became a bigger question mark than they were before. Like with the new director of facilities opinions on things, that it just could be way more costly than we initially thought. And so that kind of also tipped the scales. Am I right in saying that?
Yeah. And Doug is here to kind of co-present here with us if we have any specific questions. But yeah, Doug's perspective has influenced this. And I think we were originally anticipating something like $1.7 million, and it's probably upwards of 4 or more.
Yeah.
And that increase from 1.7 to 4, is that due to what work these portables need?
Doug's nodding his head, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, it just, you know, I'm just, it's a surprise to me,
Yes,
that's all.
it's a change. It's a change.
And I was thinking, as you were doing this presentation, there's a lot of kids that would be in these portables, and now, you know, where do these kids go? So, okay, thanks.
All right, so with that, the next set of slides is more of a presentation in response to questions that committee members had at the last meeting related to accelerated repair and a potential new building.
So we're going to ask Mr. Dwelly to come up and explain debt drop-off. Thank you.
Thank you. One of the questions that we heard from the committee last month was, you know, we've got over $100,000 in identified capital improvement needs. We're talking about new facilities. You know, how do we fund this and make inroads or a dent toward chipping away at our capital needs? So what we did here was we put together a few slides that show how we can fund some of these larger projects using debt, and then also debt drop-off to be able to add additional projects as we go through the years. So as you may recall, last time we proposed a consolidated facility, BCIS and High West, at an estimated cost of $43.6 million. So that cost, the 43.6, you will see as a 20-year debt exclusion in the bar graph at the bottom of your chart. Now that's the total cost each year to the town spread across all taxpayers in town. Very similar to a personal mortgage, or if you buy an automobile and you pay off that over a set period of time. At the end of the 20 years, that debt has been satisfied, that project has been paid off. One of the things we want to note here at this slide before we move to the next is that you see over time, as you make payments, the total amount decreases. So next slide, please. So as that debt decreases, what is common in communities is that you will add another project on at a time when typically your debt is somewhat level or somewhat even compared to other years. So there's a few different colors on this screen. So the orange is the BCIS and High West project that we proposed or we presented last time. The green is just an estimated project that we're adding on in year 11 at $22 million. Sarah has some details about these proposed projects in a later slide, but I just wanted to focus on the funding and the financing right now. And then in year 22, we're adding an additional project of $50 million. So you see our debt payments across a period of 40 years here on the screen. So the next slide is identifying these spikes here. So I wanted to highlight that in years 11, 12, 13, 22, 23, 24, 25, you see that there's a spike. So what we try to do is we try to soften those spikes so that there's not a spike to the taxpayers in any one year, a large jarring spike, right? You want to limit increases to any one year for taxes so that, you know, residents don't open up their tax bill and say, why has my bill gone up $1,000? So we try to soften those. So what we can do and what we've proposed here, and this is just illustrative, is on the next slide, we've applied some savings, $8.9 million across a 10-year period to help smooth out those spikes and smooth out what the annual impact would be to a taxpayer. And we've got the details on that in the next slide. But this is, if we just go back to the prior slide, sorry. This is a kind of a good visualization of how you can fund approximately $110 million in capital over a 40-year period. So the next slide lists out the actual impact of this. So what we like to do is we like to talk about the average assessed property in town. That is $750,000. If we were to move forward with the scenario that we just showed, the average annual property tax increase for that individual whose home is assessed at $750,000 would be $114. That would be $114 on top of their existing annual property tax bill. And as we talked about softening the spikes, I wanted to talk about the range. Well, what would the highest bill look like in any one of those 40 years, or the lowest look like in any one of those 40 years? So the highest would be $127 in any one year, and the lowest would be $97 in any one year. So a swing of $30 over a year, which is very small on a property tax bill of a property whose value is assessed at $750,000. And now if you were to remain in your home, let's say for 40 years, from the start of this project to the end of it, your property was valued at $750,000, you would pay in total $4,560 in new taxes to help the community fund over $100 million in new capital. So again, this is just illustrative. It kind of hopefully helps give you a sense of how we can fund large building projects, whether it's new construction or a significant renovation. And at this point, I think I'll turn it over to Sarah to actually talk about what some of those scenarios in actuality could look like.
Could I actually ask a question before you turn it over? The question is this is not a new concept, right?
No.
I mean, the town uses this on its side to fund municipal projects all the time. It's just that the school hasn't yet, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, it's a very common practice in communities. This kind of debt drop-off, adding new debt as debt drops off, helps support the capital trust fund, and the borrowing that is done to contribute to the capital trust fund. So it's a common practice.
Thank you.
So at the next slide, these are just a couple examples of how big projects might be sequenced. We did in the facilities subcommittee talk about what new construction might look like, and ultimately we're putting up for discussion or consideration BCIS and Hyannis West, but we know that BWB and Centerville also have quite a bit of need based on the facilities conditions report. So project one hypothetically could be new construction for a consolidated Hyannis elementary school, and then in year 10, creating a project that is an addition or renovation of BWB in Centerville, and then in 20 years, start engaging in some more major renovations of BUE, BIS, and BHS. These are all hypothetical, but it's sort of portraying a potential roadmap ahead for multiple facilities. And by making certain decisions and certain priorities, that can then help Doug and his team and Collier's, and I'll introduce them individually in a moment, took a look and said, all right, if this was sort of the roadmap, how would we reprioritize the facilities conditions list, which is all-encompassing, very large, but if you know you're going to build a new building, if you know you're going to renovate eventually, there would certainly be some decision points to make, and having a roadmap would kind of help with that. So this is just a very hypothetical, and things could change, enrollment could shift, so things could certainly change over a 40-year period, but just sort of a high-level way to chunk out major projects for the current buildings. And with that, I think the next part of this was Derek Osterman and Christina Mulligan put together what facility, the big number, we talked about $122 million worth of facilities needs coming out of that report, how that might look different if the committee were to look at some big projects over the next 40 years. So I'll turn it over to Derek and Christina.
Well, great. Good evening, everyone. Thank you all for having us here today. We're really excited to talk about this topic. And as Sarah mentioned, in December of 2025, we did a facilities assessment report. And if you go to the next slide, please. As Sarah mentioned, we were tasked to show the reprioritization, maintenance needs. And just real quick, I wanted to talk about the report and what we identified first. So the first bar in this graph actually shows a summary of all schools combined. In our report, we actually showed 3 different priority needs, level 1, 2, and 3, C. With a total at the top, you see 133 million of the total identified needs for all 9 schools in the Barnstable community. So taking a step there, the first bar shows the report and the identifications that were shown there. In discussions with the facilities subcommittee, we were tasked to review potential thoughts of how to plan for the future and all the educational facilities and needs that the Barnstable community needs. So part of that reprioritization, we looked at step 1, the second bar chart that you see here, is if we consolidate BCIS and Atlantic West, what would your discount, not discount, my apologies, but the tier identified be, and that's it'd be $112 million. If we went down to step 2, again, each bar in the chart builds upon itself. They don't stand as an independent number. But the second step was if we were to repair the roofs at the high school as the intermediate school. And then step 3, we add options for Barnstable West and Centerville. So again, show these charts against each other about potential options that you can do to consolidate that first step with BCIS and INs. Any questions about this?
Doesn't seem like it. Yeah, any questions? No questions.
Well, great. Going to the next slide, the facilities subcommittee also wanted to review any potential thoughts around if we were to consolidate the 2 schools, what would that do in terms of the enrollment numbers? And we're happy to report there's actually 83 elementary schools in Massachusetts that have enrollments that are over 600 students. And again, we're happy to answer questions related to the information we just showed.
Yes, I have a question, and thank you. This has been informative. I noted that there's a range in terms of our elementary schools, over 600. There's a number of them, so we can't see, specifically. But how many are in, let's say between 600 and 800 students in that range?
So if you look at the chart, it's pretty much divided in half, and the right side of the list, so that's 40 some odd schools, that list actually around 100. So there are quite a few schools that are 700 plus.
Thank you, because I know a consideration is around instruction, but then also around building a school that's going to last into this millennium. You're building for the next 50 to 75 years. So Barnstable being a large district that at one point in time had over 3,000 students, again, I'm dating myself, but still, it's important that our schools are able to handle the capacity of, again, the lone Division I district, a large district going forward. So over 40 schools on the right between that 600 and 800 range. Thanks.
Any other questions? We're good to continue.
Sarah, do you want to do this, or do you want me to do it?
You can do it if you'd like. I
Well,
can
it's
jump
very
in with
basic.
anything else.
Next slide, please. This is just the dates and timelines, because we didn't have concrete dates at the last meeting yet, but they were set, I think, a couple days ago, Derek said. So if we were to do the accelerated repair program, which everyone seemed to like last time, these are the dates. And it's now every other year, so it won't open again until 2027. So the application period is between January 13th and March 21st. And the core program, the application program is January 13th, but closes April 11th. And that's the new construction one. That would be the consolidation of two schools and building a new structure. So these are, again, these are just slides that we tried to answer some of the concerns that were brought up at the last meeting. And if you have any questions, we figured it would be great to have Derek and Christina here too with all of their knowledge, having done these before all over the state. If you have any questions, now's the time. Thank you.
Any additional questions?
I don't know if this is for Derek and Christine, but it's probably the same question. I saw the chart. There's whatever it was, a lot of schools that are over 600 students, including BUES. It's doesn't mean they're all great elementary schools. They're large elementary schools. So just to give a list. I don't necessarily feel better about building a large elementary school. And I'm still just a little bit unclear. Maybe I'm wrong, but it sounds as though BWB and Centerville are probably our neediest elementary schools for fixing up. Yet we're building a large, or hope to build a large elementary school in Hyannis, which would take the Hyannis West and BCIS students. So I'm just a little unclear about the reason for the Hyannis school as opposed to where our needs are, Centerville and BWB. It seems to be our neediest.
Is there anybody who wants to address that comment?
Chris?
Doug or Chris? Or both?
From a financial standpoint, High West and BCIS had one of the highest costs per square foot of the capital needs. So we, took those as our costliest buildings if we were to devote funds to addressing all the capital needs that were identified in the Collier's report. So from a financial aspect, from where I sit, it seems like you'd be spending more money per square foot on those two buildings than you would on any others.
And then there's the demographic report that we followed, showing that population growth will be in the Hyannis area. Am I correct in saying that, Sarah?
Yes, yep. That's talking with the town planning department, that's sort of the expected trend over the next 20 to 30 years.
That's probably very true, but it doesn't necessarily, even today, if you live in Hyannis, you don't necessarily attend a Hyannis school,
Yeah, true.
so.
Andre?
I'll just say, it was hard. I think it was hard, and the facility subcommittee talked about a lot of different possibilities. The 4 buildings need attention. So it was kind of hard to come up with a scenario, but ultimately that was sort of the consensus. But there was a discussion about Centerville and High West.
Sure.
That we had, figuring that we would geographically want to have a school up in the northern part of town and leaving BWB there. But it was hard. All four buildings need attention.
Yeah, and I suppose if we're selling this to the taxpayer, I'm a little unclear on it. I certainly will support, I'm aware of the needs of our school system, so I'm very supportive of all your effort in putting this together. But then to sell it to the taxpayer, if they're thinking like I'm thinking, so you're going to build a really large elementary school, and you're going to put it in a place that may or may not affect, my student. My student still is going to a school that needs a lot of work. So, that's a bit of a burden I think we have to overcome, I guess.
But to your point, they don't have to go to their school. They can also come to Hyannis.
I suppose you're right.
People
People like to go to their village school, always have been, that's always been the way in Barnstable, so.
I think my understanding, and if it's okay, Kathy, I'd like to ask Derek maybe to chime in based on the process. I mean, you put a statement of interest in and an application, and you kind of have to declare a particular direction, but there's a process with the MSBA and the state with the feasibility study to kind of examine things. Could you maybe elaborate a little bit on what that would look like?
Yeah, sure. Happy to. Hopefully my audio is also clear. I'm getting a echo on my side, so if it's a problem, let me know. But in terms of the process, that's right. The statement of interest is really about declaring to the city that you have an issue that you'd like help with. And so in that way, you're setting yourself up to go through a much more detailed sort of feasibility process is one of their very first stages of the MSBA modules. So in the statement of interest, we certainly talk about these schools as all having very severe deferred maintenance and needs, as well as the space considerations, and trying to be strategic about how what comes out of the goals for your academic program are going to fit in the buildings you have. I think part of the challenging conversation in Barnstable in particular, in terms of the comments that everyone's made thus far, is you're all right. All of your schools do need help. And so you need to start somewhere. So by identifying, potentially in this case, BCIS and Timeless West as a potential consolidation project to start to alleviate overcrowding in other areas, as well as looking at how you're going to work on which students will attend which schools and what the long-range program is. There's certainly nothing wrong with saying to the MSBA, we have lots of need in all of our schools, and so we need to start somewhere. This is the first step, and then we move on to the second and the third one. Ultimately, they will help you determine if that was the right ordering, if those are the right schools, what the project needs to be, whether it needs to be in fact a new school or an add-on. But essentially, you're putting yourself in the line to be eligible for state funding to help you with a major building project. So that's really how this will unfold, is simply indicating to the state that you have an issue that you'd like financial support with because you're ready to start to make a major capital investment in the district.
Any additional questions? Andre?
Yes, for me, thank you for the commentary and the perspective related to the placement of the new building and whether Hyannis location or location in some of the other villages, Centerville, BWB would be the most appropriate. So that's good context. To begin with, I'm interested in this conversation and continuing to have this conversation with the community members in those villages. And that's a part of this process that I believe needs to happen in the next few months, and I specifically am committed to seeing happen and to going to those different civic organizations and those different community meetings to have this conversation, to hear these concerns. But regardless of where we build this facility, based on, again, the needs per square feet, and then based on just the landscape of education in the region and in the state, I just would like the community to be aware that new buildings have gone up all around Barnstable. And so, I hear these concerns. I want to have this conversation, but the antithesis would be 4 very old buildings that just remain very old that we continue to spend money on keeping in existence.
That we can't afford.
So this, Peter, your point, is it Hyannis, the best location? Is it Centerville? Is it West Barnstable? Is it Marston's Mills? Is it Kentuit? Where is the best placement for this building? Is a further conversation that needs to be had. And again, I make it clear to the community that I am for this conversation, maybe at a special meeting here of the school committee, or maybe in the form of school committee members going to the different civic organizations and hearing directly from the taxpayers in those specific villages. But I will say, Bourne, brand new elementary school. Dennis Yarmouth, brand-new intermediate school. Cape Cod Tech, which is for all of the districts, brand-new high school. Nauset, just this year, brand-new high school. Right here on the Cape. And so for us in Barnstable, the largest district, do we, again, sit back? And again, let me just, before I conclude, Plymouth North, Plymouth South, brand new buildings in the last 10 years. So this is what's happening in the state, everywhere. And I think we have some work to do in terms of the location and hearing those concerns from community members. But I wouldn't want us, when every school district, not every, but a preponderance of school districts are grappling with this very same question and working hard to find ways to move forward and build something for the community. We want to do everything that we can. And again, myself specifically, I know some of my other committee members feel the same way. We will be out to hear those concerns. In regards to the size of an elementary school, I just want to, again, my perspective, we are the largest district on the Cape. And so do you build a smaller elementary school in a neighborhood to serve the students of that one neighborhood, and then you have 3 older buildings? Or do we build a larger building where potentially 1 or 2 or many villages can send their students there? That's the rationale for the size, not that necessarily a larger elementary school is how other districts do. We dwarf these other districts. So we're building in relation to the size of our community. That's the theory related to the number of students.
Can I just add one thing to that, is that, I know that one of the major jobs we have up here is fiscal responsibility, and we were elected by the taxpayer to look out for how we spend your dime. And I think if we don't take a good, honest look at the amount we're paying for dilapidated buildings when, well, dilapidated might be kind of harsh, but the point is we're just spending all this money every year and we can't keep up with the maintenance on these buildings. And it's time to take a really hard look at that, like you would if it was your own budget at home. Like you would. You'd say, this place is just too expensive, I'm gonna sell it. And, so we have to start looking at things that way. I think it's really, we should have done it years and years ago. But, I'll settle for now. We have to look at it. And I think that when we're elected to this position, that is the role that we take. And so I'm hoping that we have taxpayers and concerned parents that come out and say, you're right, we're spending too much money. But I'll also take, no, I like my neighborhood school. I just want people more involved and coming to the meetings and talking about what they want to see. Because for my money, I'd rather spend $100 a year for 40 years and give Barnstable a fighting chance at taking the lion's share of the kids where we belong. And we heard our intermediate school principal telling us that, Barnstable needs to be the best. We have our high school principal here today telling us Barnstable needs to be the best. We need to be the best, and we need to remain competitive. And we can't do that if we're constantly wasting money on projects that we just can't keep up with. It's astounding the amount of need that our buildings have. So I think it's really time to get the house in order, and I think that, with our new facilities director and our finance director and with Sarah's guidance, I think we can really come up with a good plan. And obviously with Derek and Christina, who've been a wealth of information, really helpful in kind of narrowing down our discussions and things. With their expertise, I think we can make some really solid decisions and not spend money on useless repairs. So thank you. And I'd like to also quickly say, I forgot to say it, if we sign up for the core program, we are not obligated. Even if we win, we're not obligated to take that money. But the window is till April 11th on that. The core program is the one that consolidates 2 schools into a new construction. So if we apply for that and we get it, we are not obligated to take the money. But missing it, I think, is a mistake. Missing that date, I think, is a mistake. I would rather, because we do have a crunch on time, because we don't meet enough, in my opinion, but because we do have a crunch on time, I don't think that's the reason to not apply when we're not obligated to take the win, even if we get it. And that's my play for that. Thank you. Now I am officially done.
All right, so I'd like to weigh in, and this is on the agenda for tonight for a discussion because I think it requires a complete school committee attendance for us to make a decision. When I listen to different arguments, the argument that our neighboring communities all have new buildings, and so Barnstable needs a new building, doesn't sit well with me. I don't think it's an argument that we should put out there. I think it does play a part when the state is evaluating various projects to know that we have not had a new building since BUES, and that there are a lot of buildings in our district that are well overdue, they're old. I think we have to be very careful and all-inclusive, and definitely we need the public to weigh in on this. We need to hold forums and sponsor those rather than individual members going to a particular community group, because there's always the potential for a community group to be excluded if we take that approach. So I think holding several forums with plenty of notice in various formats, not targeted to any particular group, but where anybody who wishes to be involved and weigh in on this to give us a perspective so that we can make a good community decision while being fiscally responsible is important. I don't have anything else to add. If you're good? Okay. I think it was a great discussion. Thank you for the work on the presentation. Colliers, thank you for attending. We appreciate your time and expertise and explanation. And I think that it definitely helped frame the path going forward to making a better decision.
You're welcome. Congratulations. It's an exciting moment.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
New business.
Thank you.
New business, item 6.1, to accept the Barnstable High School Program of Studies. Want to welcome Jason.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Happy New Year. Before I start, I have to say the students from West Villages reciting the Pledge of Allegiance, I have to commend them on their delivery. I recite the pledge every morning, so I have some homework to do because they definitely made me look bad. So kudos to the students from West Villages and a job well done. My name is Jason Canet. I'm the building principal at Barnstable High School. Before I begin this presentation, I do want to give some praise to some specific individuals that help with this process. First of which is Steve Kaiser, the Associate Principal of Hub 2, and Rachel Wiseman, our District Data Specialist, for their help and support with the Program of Studies. In addition, I want to thank all of our curriculum coordinators and department heads for the month of discussion in order to create our proposed Program of Studies for the 25-26 school year. Next slide, please. So tonight I thought it would be best to present our program of studies in a PowerPoint that outlines program offerings for students that are entering grades 8 through 12. The document has undergone some revisions from last year, and this will include updates to existing class offerings, such as semesterizing classes, credits, and et cetera, updates regarding classes that are NCAA eligible, the addition of classes available for students during the 25-26 school year, and of course, removal of offerings for the 25-26 school year. Next slide, please. So for those of you that are watching that may not know of the program of studies, whether you're an incoming grade 8 student next year or someone new to the district, our program of studies is a valuable tool used to initiate dialogue between students, parents, teachers, and counselors. This dialogue is essential for students as they plan their course selections for next year. In the conversations, it should include the Barnstable High School Program of Studies involving post-secondary plans to best support and prepare our students for the wide range of post-secondary options. The Program of Studies also outlines graduation requirements, which is very important. And this process will require careful consideration, and it's very imperative that our students spend time reading the program studies when they're talking with teachers, parents, guardians, and their school counselors. And most importantly, it serves as a resource to show how Barnstable High School is the most comprehensive school on the Cape. It's really an opportunity for us to brag about the many offerings that we have here and compare to what other schools do not offer. So we call it what it is. It's a way that we can show why we are the most comprehensive school in the Cape. Next slide, please. I thought it'd be wise to give you just a brief timeline of events from now until the end of the year. Currently, our teachers are starting the recommendation process, and when we come back late in January, students will start the online course requesting in advisory. In February, we will review these requests. We will finalize the students' requests. When we come back from the February break in March, we will create a course tally report, and we will conduct meetings with department heads and coordinators to review these assignments. And we will also input the teacher assignments into Aspen. In April, that's when the scheduling build begins. The structure of it, we review, the final reviews, the tweaks to the build, and then we have the load, which will start the conflict resolution, and that is a daunting task to say the least. And again, I want to thank Rachel Wiseman and Steve Kaiser because there's a lot of work that happens when you start with conflict resolution. Next slide, please. So the proposed 25-26 program of studies provides increased opportunities and experiences with advanced coursework that will lead to increased preparation and informed post-secondary decisions for our students. Some changes to our 25-26 program of studies will include working towards aligning our core curriculum with our pathways in the event that a student wants to change pathways. We want this to be a more seamless change. We want to make some changes to ensure that we are in compliance, not just with DESE, but with the NCAA eligibility and et cetera. We are working towards semesterizing classes. What that will do is it will allow students more flexibility and to be able to explore different subjects and narrow in on a field of interest. You'll also see in the program of studies, the format is a little bit different. It specifies designations regarding graduation requirements and whether or not a class that you will take will or will not be NCAA eligible. Next slide, please. Some big changes to a few of our departments, one of which is our music department, which is now called the Performing Arts Program. This rebranding reflects our commitment to a comprehensive, inclusive curriculum encompassing dance, theater, visual arts, and music. By expanding our scope, we better meet the diverse needs and interests of our students, preparing them for success. And in addition, you've heard about this, but I just want to reference this as well. Our World Language Department is thrilled to now offer a biliteracy pathway to support students in achieving the prestigious Massachusetts State Seal of Biliteracy. This pathway will benefit all multilingual learners, whether they are learning a world language or English, by providing them with the tools to attain this recognition of language proficiency. So our goal is to increase the number of world language students achieving the Seal of Biliteracy by providing opportunities for advanced language learning. And as you've heard, the State Seal of Biliteracy, it takes the form, that seal, and it puts it on your transcript or your diploma for the graduating senior. It's really a statement of accomplishment for future employees and for college admissions. Next slide, please. Yes. So this slide talks about the updates for the NCAA Eligibility Center. This was formerly known as the NCAA Clearinghouse. So to this date, this year, we have submitted 113 course submissions to the NCAA Clearinghouse for review. Right now, of these 113 submissions, 103 of them have been successfully processed and approved. We do have 10 submissions that were denied, but the feedback that we received is they just need additional information to reevaluate these courses. And what it is, it plays a pivotal role in the academic and athletic careers of our student athletes by certifying their eligibility to compete in a collegiate sport. And having our courses approved is very critical for our student athletes as it directly impacts their ability to qualify for scholarship, gain admissions to college programs, and compete in NCAA-regulated sports. And really what this is, it's a testament to the quality and alignment of our academic offerings with the NCAA standards, which ensures that student athletes that come out of Barnstable can meet NCAA academic requirements without unnecessary hurdles. This includes verifying that students complete a core curriculum that prepares them for success both on and off the fields. Next slide, please. So the next several slides, we will discuss proposed, sorry, you scared me. Additions to classes offered for our students during the 2025-2026 school year. The first, we want to start to talk about our Coast Guard JROTC program. Next year, we hope to propose both Maritime Science 2 and Maritime Science 3. These courses will build upon the Coast Guard program and topics that are introduced in the MS1 courses. These courses will be available to grade 10 students who complete the MS1 and new to programs for grade 11 students. Next slide, please.
Do you want questions at the end? I have a question about the ROTC.
Sure.
Oh, I just wondered, are those full year,
Those are full year.
2 and 3 are full year?
That is correct.
Okay.
That is correct. Not everything will be semesterized, but certain classes are full year. Our
So this year, we only have one,
one, and
And
next year,
then-
the proposal will be for 2 and 3.
but 3 requires 2 as a prerequisite? Or did I read that incorrectly?
No, you read that correctly. I do
It might
apologize.
just be included as looking forward,
Yes, yes.
not necessarily that there will be enough students that can enroll to cause the course.
That is correct.
Okay, great. Thank you.
The next slide should be correct. This next slide discusses the new courses that will be offered for our SIFE and ML students at Barnstable High School. For those that are not aware, SIFE stands for Students with Interrupted Formal Education. It's a term used to describe our multilingual learners who have attended school in the United States for less than 1 year. SIFE students may have limited first language literacy skills, gaps in academic knowledge and skills, social and emotional needs, arrive in the United States unaccompanied by as a teenager, have limited access to formal education, and had their education interrupted for months or years before arriving to the United States. ML, which stands for Multilingual Learners, is a term that we use to describe students developing proficiency in multiple languages. Our multilingual learners are students with a primary or home language other than English who are in the process of acquiring English. Next slide, please. So for our SIFE and ML students, the new classes that we hope to propose next year would be social and instructional language. This is designated for SIFE students to be able to communicate for social and instructional purposes within the school setting. Topics in English and literacy. This is designed to provide incoming SIFE students with a solid foundation in English language arts while simultaneously developing their academic language skills. And topics in life science. This is a lab-based course that is designed to provide incoming SIFE students with a solid foundation in life science while simultaneously developing their English language skills. Next slide, please. In addition, we will offer concepts in early American history and civics, which is designed for grade 8 newcomer ML students. We will offer topics in world history. This is a course that is designed to provide incoming SIFE students with a solid foundation in world history while simultaneously developing their English language skills. And concepts of pre-algebra is a course designed for newcomers or beginner ML students who have a WEDA score 2.0 or below. And this course will focus on the operations with rational numbers, linear functions, equations, geometric transformations, and analyzing 2- and 3-dimensional figures. Next slide, please. This next slide discusses new courses for our advanced placement, our AP classes. Our first would be AP African American Studies, and basically this course is replacing what we currently offer, which is Black Studies. This was previously offered last year in our program of studies, and this course is designed to introduce students to major themes, issues, and debates in the Black experience from African origins, until today. And in response to student feedback that we received, we will also be launching the AP Learning Lab next year. And this is a program that is available to juniors and seniors. It's not an AP course, but it provides additional academic support for AP students during the school day who are enrolled in 2 or more AP courses. Additionally, these recent additions to our AP offerings, so next year hopefully will be our AP African American Studies, and last year we went from honors pre-calc to AP pre-calc. This reflects our dedication to offering diverse and rigorous coursework, and looking ahead, we are exploring the introduction of AP Seminar for the 26-27 school year. This is going to be a course designed to foster critical thinking, research, and communication skills. This is all a part of a redesign that was done with the help of Jenny Cacavalli. I hope I pronounced her name correctly. She is on the College Board. She is the Director of K through 12 and the Regional Director who is helping Barnstable to follow the regional AP redesign, and we thank her for her efforts and her time. Next slide, please.
Mr. Canetta, if you could just go back. Question. Yes, so the Black Studies class, is that currently an AP class, or is that?
No, that is not an
Okay,
AP
so we're
class, and we
taking
are
just a-
revamping that to be an AP class for next year.
Thank you, Mr. Canetta.
Absolutely. And yes, so the new courses for mathematics next year will be Applications in Algebra 2. This is recommended for students who did not achieve a C- or better in intermediate algebra. This course will extend students' previous work with functions to include polynomials, rational, and radical functions. Students will all build mathematical skills in an effort to prepare them for exams such as the SATs, Accuplacer, etc. As a former math teacher, that sounds like a pretty fun class, I'm not going to lie. Video game design is a course that is aimed at providing students with a solid foundation in the principles and practices of all aspects of video game design and development. Students will explore the creative and technical aspects of game design, from conceptualization to production and porting to different platforms. And the last being Statistics 2, and this is a course for students who have already completed AP Statistics. In this course, they will further the knowledge of statistical topics in a project-based course. Next slide, please. World Language has a lot to offer, hopefully, next year, with etymology, with the class focusing on studying the Greek and Latin word elements that shape scientific, literacy, legal, and medical terminology. Italian Conversation and Culture. This is a course that will provide an introductory exploration of the Italian language and culture. Also another nice class, sounds good. Tourism through Language and Culture. This is a course that will provide a comprehensive exploration of the global travel industry, emphasizing cultural understanding and the practical application of language skills. Next slide, please. We have a few additional slides for World Language. We will be offering Latin 4. This is a course for the highly motivated independent learner and requires some assignment to be completed outside of class. This is one of those classes. This is a second class in the Latin track of the biliteracy pathway, and this will also be offered for the dual enrollment credit through Middlesex Community College. Next slide, please. And last, we have Spanish Heritage 2. This is a course that students will be immersed in the Spanish language as they develop the skills needed to speak, write, and understand the language at a novice level with topics such as cultural traditions, sports, personal descriptions, agriculture, and human rights. And the last being our Grade 8 Latin Introduction to the Romans. And this course will introduce students' skills in reading and writing Latin language and students' knowledge of the Roman life and culture. Next slide, please. We have several classes that we hope to offer in our health and wellness pathways. We are offering a lot of classes for several reasons. We've talked about the compliance piece. Also, what is happening right now, we are in our second year of a formal curriculum review and piloting a lot of curriculum to be adopted. We talked about compliance. I'm not sure if you're aware, but back in 2023, the state mandated that physical education shall be taught as a required subject in all grades for all students in the public schools for the purpose of promoting the physical well-being of such students. In order to be able to do this, we have to become very creative in what we're able to offer our students. So we're able, hopefully, to offer semester and year-round classes. We want to offer classes such as Get Fit. This is an exercise class that will focus on the 5 components of physical fitness: body composition, flexibility, muscular strength, muscular endurance, and cardiorespiratory. Just Dance is a course that's designed to give students a fun, high-energy, alternative approach to cardiovascular fitness. next slide, you see Health 1, and on the next slide is Health 2. We're taking our health curriculum and we're splitting this into 2 sections. And the last being net games. This course will focus on sports that require a net, such as pickleball, badminton, tennis, and volleyball. I think we're all aware this is the hype these days with spike ball and pickleball and every kind of game you can think of. Next slide, please. So now I want to take a few minutes. I have a few additional slides, and there are some classes that we will be removing from our program of studies. The first 2 being academic English for grades 9 and 12, and English for understanding diversity. My apologies. And the reason for removing our academic English grade 9 through 12 course, our ML students do not have room in their schedule for this elective course, but we believe the new SIFE courses that were discussed earlier, they will offer a similar curriculum and address the needs of many of our ML students. And with regards to English 4, understanding diversity, we've had low numbers in enrollment for the last few years. There's a class that we offer called Contemporary Literature and Writing, which is offered next year, has similar text and themes, and has enough enrollment to run a class. So then rather than having both classes compete, we just wanted to make sure that we were able to run this specific class throughout the year. Next slide, please. Hip-hop influences and trends. This class will be removed because of low enrollment. This class was unable to run for the last few years. However, we have decided to incorporate the elements into this class into our existing music production curriculum, that is 6 through 12. And we believe by revamping our new CTE music production curriculum, we will cover all aspects of the music production while giving them job skills and certification for job readiness. Once the enrollment does increase, we would like to revisit the possibility of adding the hip-hop class back into our course offerings. Engineering, art that moves. It was an interesting concept that came from students, but it provided difficulty to sustain. There was low student enrollment. Typically, we were looking at 2 to 3 students. Cooped with the demanding teaching schedule, it just made it very, very challenging. Next slide, please. And these are the last 2 inactive courses, one being the grade 8 3D art. This was implemented a few years ago. It's received mixed feedback from students. Both students and staff have expressed concerns about its complexity and the overall student experience. The art department will streamline the 8th grade art curriculum as it successfully has done in the past, and it would result in a more focused and enjoyable learning experience for students. And we talked about the Black Studies. We're not removing it. We're just creating an advanced placement class. Same curriculum in hopes to really broaden our AP offerings for more of our students. That is my presentation. The entire document, as you can see, is well over 160 pages. I think we would be here for days if we went through it, but I'm hopeful that I was able to capture some of the changes and the important information that one person would need to use this document to best plan for the upcoming school year.
Thank you so much. Jen, questions, comment?
I just think it's great that we review it and change it when things don't work and, stay current and updated and, it's just really important to have some relevancy, I think. So thank you for that.
Andre?
Yeah, great presentation. Just a question about the tourism, language, and culture class. Obviously, that's our bread and butter here on the Cape and Islands. I was interested in how you see this class connecting with this vibrant and robust industry here in Barnstable.
Sure.
Different components, just so many different pieces to that. I think about some of our core businesses, Highline, different people to and from, how do we see?
Cultural competency, cultural knowledge is extremely important. Just understanding who people are, where they come from, where their mindset is. And I think looking at Barnstable and looking at who we are and what we offer is just knowledge that I think everyone should have. And I think everyone should have it, especially in the real world. When you leave high school, when you go into college and you go into the work trades or whatever, you have to understand who people are. People come from different backgrounds. People have different thought process. So it's just an opportunity to really expose our students to real-world applications. I think it's essential to where our students are hopefully going after college and post-secondary.
I'm in agreement, and I see possibly a through line, to students in this class and connecting with some of these, the preponderance of businesses that are focused on the tourism industry, billions of dollars. So a knowledge of it, connections with, again, these local businesses, and then the opportunity to possibly go forward and have, establish a career right here in, again, multi-billion dollar industry that we depend on here in this region.
Yeah, I
Thank
would
you.
agree.
Peter?
Yes, that's a great presentation, Jason, and great updates, as Jen mentioned, to the program of study. The whole program of study, I went through it. It's so very impressive. It really is. It's a marvel. And I'll only just take one of the newer classes that I thought was great, the AP Learning Lab, for those who take multiple AP classes. Of course, I think it'll be a problem convincing those kids to take something that will actually help them. But I think it's a great idea. Terrific.
And getting to the actual document, I think it's great, the changes that you've made in the format, specifically indicating which courses are meeting graduation requirements and how they meet the requirement. The NCAA clearing is really, people that aren't in sports with college-bound athletes don't realize how helpful that is going to be. And it's important for the students that have that vision. But it looks great, it's easy to use. I think our students are very lucky, and they don't realize that there are so few schools that have the numerous elective offerings that we offer to our students.
It's an opportunity that,
Right.
as a school and as a district, we can brag about what we really offer.
Right, and I think the new courses speak to, and I'd like to commend the faculty who developed those brand-new courses. It is not easy to put together a brand-new course, nor is it easy to deliver the course content the first time. And it's a tremendous amount of work. It's a risk. They have no idea whether it will populate or not. And I think what it does is it keeps the staff fresh.
Sure.
Every time you can do something new, it's reinvigorating. And so I commend all those people who put together these new courses and made substantial revisions to existing courses as
I
well.
have to say it again, Steve Kaiser, Rachel Wiseman, our curriculum coordinators and department heads have spent months and months, and Albert Mercado, so I really owe
Right.
all of them for all of their hard work. So
Right.
thank you to all the staff, and thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, I move to accept the Barnstable High School Program of Studies for the 2025-2026 school years presented in tonight's materials.
Second.
Having a motion made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
And motion carries unanimously.
Thank you, everyone.
very much.
Go Red Hawks.
Great job.
All right, item 6.2, suspend policy on policy adoption, BGB.
I move to suspend policy BGB policy adoption for agenda item 6.3.
Somebody want a second?
I'm just, 1 second, I just wanted to pull this up. I didn't see.
So this, I can give an explanation.
Sure.
This is being suspended for revising policy IKF, the graduation requirements, because it's of a very timely nature. The changes to the graduation requirements policy are for our 2025 graduates, given the change in the MCAS requirement for graduation that no longer exists that we discussed at the last school committee meeting.
Thank you. So this is, again, related to the changing landscape in regards to MCAS. Thank you.
Second.
Having a motion made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
And motion carries unanimously. Item 6.3, revised policy IKF, graduation requirements. Again, this was revised to specifically address the change that's needed for graduation requirements and competency determination for the class of 2025 in response to the elimination of MCAS as a requirement. The subcommittee will revisit this policy after, for future years moving forward, after additional guidance is provided from DESE. The change is really addressing how will those students, and I believe there were 43 students who are in the graduating class of 2025, how will they be able to demonstrate competency so that they can earn a diploma?
All right, I'll move to revise policy IKF, graduation requirements as presented in tonight's materials.
Second.
Having a motion made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Item 6.5, School Committee 2025-2026
No, you
meetings.
skipped one,
Oh,
Kathy.
I skipped one.
6.4.
Oh, the competency determination. Item 6.4, certified courses that meet the competency determination requirement for class of 2025. As we saw with the previous presentation, Barnstable has numerous course offerings and all the core content areas to meet a variety of student levels and needs. Not every single course that's offered by Barnstable meets what would be considered a would meet competency determination. Therefore, a list was developed so that families can easily see what their student needs to take should they not already have passed MCAS, which previously verified their competency.
Move to certify the courses that meet the competency determination requirement for class of 2025 as presented in tonight's materials.
Second.
Having a motion made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Now, item 6.5, School Committee 2025-2026 meeting schedule. This is a first read. The
Sorry.
document has been posted for a while in board docs. And I'm not sure if anybody has any comments or questions now, but we will revisit this for action at the February meeting. Okay. Moving on, item 6.6, approve revise, oh, we're deleting that. Is that?
No,
No,
not the
that's,
one.
okay.
That's
So
not the one.
item 6.6, approve revised youth development and dropout prevention coordinator job description. I'm going to turn this over to Sarah.
Thank you. The youth development position is an unaffiliated position and has changed a lot since its original inception. And so this revised job description is an update for 2025 to more accurately reflect the scope of work, which includes some supervision, including of our community mentors as well as after-school mentors, and an increasing and expanding role across the district involving other schools. So there's a reporting relationship change from principal to superintendent, given that the position is encompassing multiple schools at this point with the developing mentor program. There's the original job description is in your packet, so you can make a comparison, but this provides, I think, a lot more concrete and accurate summary of the current state and I think future vision for the role.
Any questions?
I move to approve the revised youth development and dropout prevention coordinator job description as presented in tonight's materials.
Second.
Having a motion made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Item 6.7, approve revised custodian job descriptions, the custodian, head custodian, and foreman custodian.
Thank you. So these three job descriptions have been developed by the facilities department. I want to thank Doug and the custodial supervisor, Peter Pooler, for putting these together. The intention here is to provide additional clarity and related to the job, as well as expectations for performance responsibilities. So that's been expanded. These have been shared with AFSCME leadership, and they're ready to go.
All right, move to approve the revised custodian job descriptions, custodian, head custodian, and foreman custodian as presented in tonight's materials.
Second.
Having a motion made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. All right, items 6.8 and 6.9 are going to be deferred to the February 5th school committee meeting. And we're under finance and facilities, item 7.1. Oh, and 7. Did you want to approve the position?
No, we can
No, we'll-
defer that.
so
I think we
will
should defer that. to-
Defer 7.1 until the job descriptions are finalized. Item 7.2, approve the contract bid award for the mold prevention and on-call environmental consulting services. As a member of the committee that reviewed the proposals, I had briefly, when I thanked the evaluation committee members, mentioned that the bid process was used as per state law. 3 bids were, the summary document has been posted in board docs, but 3 bids were submitted. The committee met and evaluated those first without considering costs, which is how the process works. And then the 3 companies submitting bids were ranked. The next part of the process was to review the cost breakdowns submitted by each company. And then an additional meeting was held to discuss the costs. The way that the bids come in, it's not always clean to, for lack of a different word, it's not always a clean process to compare what the financial piece, how that is aligning between the various bidders. Simply because they have different formats that they use, they break things down differently. Therefore, we reviewed it. The committee members felt they needed additional time to go back through to really align the cost with what the proposal services were provided, and then met one last time, and the committee unanimously is making the recommendation to award the contract for the mold prevention and on-call to Environmed Services for an amount not to exceed $475,240. Does anybody have any?
All right. I'll move to approve contract bid award for the mold prevention on-call environment consulting services to Environmed Services Incorporated, not to exceed the contract amount of $475,240.
Second.
Having a motion made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Item 7.3, approve accounts payable warrant fiscal year 25, warrant number 27.
I move to approve accounts payable warrant 25, FY 25 warrant number 27, in the amount of $70,638.77.
Second.
Having a motion made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
And I'm abstaining simply because I didn't have a chance to review it. The consent agenda this evening contains 4 items. A recurring field trip to the Marine Biological Lab in Woods Hole during February vacation of this year. The school committee meeting minutes of December 4. And grants, gifts, and donations, and actually, we have no budget transfers, correct? Correct. Okay.
Move to approve
A
the...
discussion. Just quickly, I know that this field trip occurs annually, but it is good to get updates, on our field trips and what's taking place, and to hear from those staff members. So I was just, putting this in the consent agenda, that's, again, since I've been on the committee, and I enjoy being on the committee, usually those individuals are here, and we get to, hear about the trips. And I know this is just going to Woods Hole, and we have trips that go to Italy and across the world, and of that nature.
So
But that's my only question in terms of, this being on the consent agenda versus,
So all the information that was typically presented by somebody verbally was included in our packets, all the details, and the trip is mirroring the trip that was approved last year. And the reason that we developed a consent agenda was so that we didn't have to have a staff member come back unless there were specific questions, in which case we could have asked them to come. But it's been vetted in the same way that they've always been vetted, and any new trips would not fall under a consent agenda. Or if they were taking a trip that was different from a previous trip, then they would come and it would not be included in the consent agenda.
understandable. This consent agenda has recently been employed, and I understand, efficiency and the timing of meetings, but again, for a field trip, though, that's, I'd like to hear, about the trip, what's going on. And noted, this is just to Woods Hole, but we wouldn't, Kathy, would we have the Washington DC trip, being on the consent agenda? That's kind of my only, I want to know about that. I want to understand what's new. It's important for the community, right? Speaking of the Washington DC field trip, and the great success that it was. So that's my only, that was curious to me, why.
Right, and just for the public, and the public has access to these documents as well, and all the details of the trip are included in the documents that have been posted.
And if anyone's watching that's going on the trip, they should come back and tell us all about it, I think.
Right.
I'll move to approve the items in the consent agenda as presented in tonight's materials.
Second.
Having a motion made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Executive session, item 9.1, executive session. Move to go into executive session, not to reconvene in open session to approve the school committee executive session minutes of December 4, 2024, to discuss strategy and preparation for negotiations with the Barnstable Administrators Organization, and to discuss strategy with respect to litigation. This requires a roll call vote.
I will second that.
All right,
Motion.
Jen?
Yep.
And Andre?
Yes.
Peter?
Yes.
And I approve. Thank you.